It's a very intense film. I remember when I first saw it in Cannes, I was like, oh my goodness, it's just so complex and filled with politics and a lot of references to what's happening in Brazil nowadays. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys created how you created the film, how you created the script?
Well, this idea for this film born in 2009 when me and Kleber we were in a film festival in Brasilia, and we saw a lot of films, documentaries, kind of ethnographic, and those films, some of them are very interesting, good, some of them not, but all of it had some general idea of a wrong idea for us of representation of people that lives in the, faraway places, and they represent those people as exotic or as simple people. The accent is so cute, some things like that. And we come from the Northeast. We understand these kind of things very well, because our region is one of the most the poorest regions in Brazil. So we think we should do. We are friends, and we love genre cinema, and we always wanted to make a genre film. And at this time, we thought it was a very good opportunity to make a genre film with these matters involved.
I think usually when you write a script or write a novel or some paper, you isolate yourself and you cut yourself off from the internet. But for the script in Bacurau, we were always very much connected, looking at social media and the newspapers and the press, and just getting the general vibe of the general atmosphere of what was happening in the world and in Brazil. And I'm sorry. And I think that really, I think that's in the film, because we were very much connected and thinking about things that bothered us, and a lot of it is in the film, is in the final script.
Thank you.
And today, of course, there is a general understanding or interpretation that the film is about the Bolsonaro years, but we should make it very clear that we've been developing this for many years, and when we finished shooting, the idea of Bolsonaro becoming president was a joke. It was May last year, so I think our American friends know what I mean when they remember Trump the months leading to the election. It wasn't a reality. Nobody could ever imagine that it could happen.
We have a question here. Go ahead, sir.
So I'm just kind of curious. Universal, I think, canceled The Hunt, which is a very similar kind of movie about elitists coming in and hunting people in the middle of a country, the wealthy hunting the lower end or the impoverished people, whatnot. I mean, do you suspect that kind of sentiment is going to impact distribution of this film and public reaction?
I don't totally understand. Do you?
Well, it's just a similar sounding movie.
Okay.
Sideline.
Right.
In the United States.
Right.
Because it was wealthy people hunting.
Right.
Poor people, basically. This is kind of the same premise, and in both movies, I think the poor people sort of prevail. But I'm just curious as to how that might affect what you look for in the distribution and how this movie.
Right. So
Well, this film is actually doing very well in Brazil right now. The second week is the average of public is increased, so I think we are doing very well. We already sold the film for more than 50 territories. I think I'm not sure, but I think I understand that you think that is the same premise, but I haven't seen this film you mentioned, so it's difficult for me to talk about a film that I haven't seen. So, but in general, the public, the audiences in Brazil are very, very excited and feel very identified with the film. We are dealing with a moment of instability because the popularity of this government is going down and down, and the people are starting to, to reject all those ideas that this guy. And I think this has some influence on the way the people see this film and react to it.
I haven't seen The Hunt. This is a Brazilian film about the world, and in fact, a lot of what we used in the film comes from history, the history of mankind, the invasions and violence, and so the film is set in the future, but it's really about a chronic repetition of problems in Brazilian society and in how we see the world and how we live the world. And I don't know, let's see what happens. But the film is coming out in North America, Canada, and the United States by Kino Loba.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead here.
I noticed you had some, looks like you used some of the story of Lampião.
Yeah. That's an interesting...
Yes. Repeat the question.
This is a very interesting question.
But
He's going to repeat it. So
Yeah.
you use the Brazilian folk hero.
Lampião. Yeah.
And if you can speak about that.
Lampião was a Robin Hood kind of figure in the 1930s in that particular region of Brazil, and he was a criminal, but he was a very interesting and complex criminal. And yes, there is a reference. It's a very clear reference to Lampião, and the character of Lunga is probably his 7th generation development in terms of being a new kind of Lampião. But a lot of reactions in Brazil and from yourself mention the severed heads, which yes, it's part of the Lampião. It's part of what happened to his band of criminals. They were decapitated by the government at the time. But one thing that we did discuss during the script is that we, in our minds, Lunga, he was probably he probably spent some time in a state prison or a federal prison in Brazil. And just 3 weeks ago, it happens about every 8 months. Sometimes every year, sometimes every 3 months, it depends. There is a prison riot, some kind of rebellion in Brazilian prisons. And then things get really savage, and people just kill each other and cut their heads off and throw the heads over the... I know this is very shocking, I'm sorry, but they throw their heads over the wall, and there are even videos made with telephones of inmates playing football with heads.
Mas o que é importante sublinhar é que isso acontece em presídios para menores de idade.
Yeah, and a lot of these inmates are minors. They're younger than 17. So unfortunately, Brazil is an amazing, beautiful country, but it's also very violent, and we thought that we should address that even kind of in a suggestive way. So yes, it's part of the Lampião story, but I think it's also part of what happens in modern society in Brazil, the level of violence. Yeah, that's why we have our dear reformed killer asking Teresa if Lunga might have gone too far.
And Teresa says no.
And Teresa says no.
Yeah, it's complex.
Okay, we have a question here at the front. Go ahead, sir.
You begin your film with a very popular and well-known song from the tropical era.
Yes.
And I just would love to hear you talk about how you're possibly enjoying the past and the present and trying to have that play out in your narrative.
Right. So the
Very
question's
interesting
about
question.
the how the film is starts with a song from the Tropicalese era, and about the connection between past and present that you explore in the film?
I never thought about the music that we used in Bacurau in terms of time, but in terms of emotion and in terms of meanings. For me, the most important thing about the music in the film, I will tell you two examples. In the opening, we have this space image that many times associated to films that are being made in Hollywood or Europe, maybe. Not in Brazil. It's not a common image in Brazilian films.
With the CGI. And,
yes, with the CGI and all those gorgeous effects. And we
very expensive effects.
Very expensive, yeah. It's the most expensive effects in the film. And for me, it's very interesting how the music got tension with the image, you know. And another example is this, the scene of the capoeira, when the synthesizers from John Carpenter's just run over the scene and took over all the sound, you know. And the film is about this tension, about tensions. So I think the main reason to use those musics are because of it. And
in the original script, the Carpenter track opened the film in the stars, just like in Starman and The Thing. But then we felt that it would be stronger to have this collision between this industrial cinematic image with CGI and then this song from Tropicalismo, which is an amazing song by Caetano Veloso, sung by Gal Costa. And also I have to say that in Aquarius, my previous film, working on the film, and it's a film about time passing and archives, and I really like the idea that the main character would listen to Queen in 1980 and she would be still listening to Queen in 2016. So music for me is like a time capsule that never gets old. I get old, but the music never gets old, especially the great pieces of music. So opening a futuristic film with a 1969 track has a very interesting feel for us. And that came up in the editing process.
Thank you. Time for two more questions. Go ahead, sir.
Was there ever a time in your scripts, or perhaps even shooting, where you identified the voice at base? How far up this goes, or was it always your intention to make it a mystery?
Never.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
No, never. I think it's kind of
it's not important.
Unnerving. Yeah, but unnerving, is that the word?
Yes. I agree with.
But you never
yeah.
thought you never thought of where that voice could come from.
We'd
or-
never
no?
cut to Houston. No.
No.
We did think about it, but no, never. Because otherwise it would feel too much like The Truman Show, which in fact is a film that I like very much by Peter Weir. It's a beautiful film. But I think it keeps you on your toes. It's like, what are they? What? Yeah. There's something being said, and we don't quite know what it is. It's like talking to, the production assistants on the film set. You're talking to them, and they have a blank stare because they're actually hearing something else. Like it's going to rain in 15 minutes, and you're just going blah blah blah. And are you with me?
And I think adding to this, it increases the idea of the point of view, our point of view, not the foreigners. You understand? So it's important for us to listen everything the local people say, but not the foreigners.
Yeah, and
exactly, you know.
Yeah, and following up on what Juliano said, we introduced those two Brazilian collaborators, and they are not very nice people. But then in the meeting, you're kind of with them. It's like shit. They're in trouble now.
Yeah.
We have time for one final question. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
As far as the nationality
Yeah.
of the hunters, it's predominantly American.
Yeah.
But did you play, was it ever going to be all Brazilian?
Okay. Right. So it's about the nationality of the hunters, and they're predominantly American. Was it always the case, or were they ever going to be all Brazilian?
They would always be international, foreign, and mostly American, because I think when we look at history, I mean, look, I think I've said this. Maybe it was the other Q&A. Maybe. We have a history of invasions and violence throughout history. I mean, if you look at the wars and from the Second World War and wars like Serbia and Bosnia and but of course the United States has a thing with firearms and weapons, and there's a whole gun culture and they would always be mostly Americans, but of course a film.
This is not an
No, I mean a film should never think that it will represent a very complex society like the American society. The United States is an amazingly beautiful, complex, and many times ugly society, like most societies are, like the Brazilian society is, like the Brits. I mean, Britain has an amazing history, but it's very questionable in many ways, and we thought that should be in the film.
Thank you. We have to close up now. Yeah, we do. Thank you so much,
Thank you very
Juliano,
much.
Thank you very
Kleber,
much.
for coming with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.